Ever since my brother, 18M, and I, 16F, were little, we each had a special thing to do with each parent. My brother and mom used to go ice skating together, and mom and I went to baking classes together. Dad and my brother always hike in the same place together and go to the same diner afterward, and mine and Dad's thing was to star watch together and turn it into a picnic. Those things were always something that was just for me and my brother and the parent we did them with. It wasn't family time. It was something we saved for doing with each other. I remember when I was 9 and my grandpa offered to take me star watching because Dad was sick, and my dad got so upset with grandpa, his dad, he was so jealous. I'd never have said yes anyway, but seeing Dad get jealous made me happy because I realized he treasured it too. I told grandpa I didn't mind waiting for Dad to feel better. After mom died, the stuff we did with Dad became more important. I was 10 and my brother was 12. 2 years ago Dad remarried and Dad kept our special thing special. For a while. But I found out recently that Dad was doing the star watching with his stepdaughter, 12. He was keeping it from me, and when I found out I told him I wasn't doing it with him anymore, and he ruined and spoiled our special thing and I'd go with grandpa in the future. My dad got jealous about that and I screamed at him that he already took someone else, so why can't I? I told him I thought he treasured it, but no, that was just me. That he'd never hike the mountain he and my brother go to with anyone else, and he was like, of course not. My dad ended up telling his stepdaughter they couldn't star watch anymore. She was really upset. My dad's wife was upset too, and they argued, and now she's angry with me because I'm still mad at my dad and I haven't given in and agreed that it's our special thing still. As dumb as it is, the fact Dad wouldn't be okay with me doing it with someone else should prove why he spoiled it for me. Especially when he protects his and my brother's things so much. My brother and Dad's wife got into a fight because she was calling me selfish and spoiled and trying to put her daughter's hurt feelings onto me, and my brother defended me. Dad keeps telling me he doesn't want me to see our star watching as ruined, and he told me he can make it up to me. I told him he can't and that he knew it was wrong because he lied to me months if not more than a year. Right now I have my dad's wife blaming me and her son, 15. They blame me for their daughter/sister being upset. I told them to blame Dad, but they said she wouldn't be hurt if I had accepted Dad doing it with her too. Comment 1, NTA, this is on your dad. If your dad had done this the grown-up way, he'd found something else to do with the stepdaughter, and made sure that you and your brothers were okay with it. Then this wouldn't even be an issue. Your dad made a mess, not you, you set boundaries. Comment 2. The terms of the time with your dad were defined long before new wife and stepdaughter got into the picture. Those terms were further clarified when your dad would not let your grandfather do the same thing with you. Then he shattered it by making sure it was a him and stepdaughter thing, which he hid from you for months. Keep going with your granddad. Maybe your dad can recover, but for him to do that, he needs to first stop his crazy wife and her entitled children from projecting their inadequacies onto you. If he does not do that, he has a very, very long way to go. Your feelings and reaction are both valid and adequate. NTA. Comment 3. NTA, but he's already betrayed you by taking her. He was inconsiderate and selfish, and that can't be fixed now. My bet is he told his wife about your special thing and pushed him to take her daughter. Either way, he should have been more firm in boundaries and maintaining your relationship with him. Story 2, reporting my neighbor's unpermitted driveway without giving him a heads up. My wife and I, mid-30s, live on a residential property in Florida that borders a protected wetland and an outstanding Florida waterway. We maintain an organic vegetable garden, no pesticides, no irrigation system, and work hard to keep our soil healthy with native species. We plan to raise chickens and do some beekeeping in our backyard. We've always kept cordial, even friendly relations with our neighbors, a couple in their 60s. We've watched their pets, helped walk their elderly dog, etc. The wife is sweet and talkative. The husband? Prickly, but we never had personal issues. There was one ugly incident when a different elderly neighbor, with dementia, came to me upset about a truck parked in front of her house. She thought it was mine. I explained it was the next-door neighbor's tow truck and offered to walk with her to ask about moving it. That was a mistake. When we knocked, my neighbor exploded, "Oh, what the fuck do you want?" At her, not me. He got aggressive, said he needed the truck for work, puffed his chest, walked toward her, and told her, "Get off my property, you fucking fruitcake." I encouraged her to leave and left myself. He's always wanted to build up the side yard between our houses. When we first moved in, he suggested we both raise our yards, which would violate stormwater codes. He was under HOA pressure to stop parking his tow truck in the road, so he started grading his yard, building a driveway and fence along the property line. He asked if I had concerns. I said, as long as it doesn't affect me. I never gave written consent or signed anything. I assumed he had permits, especially since he built over his own water meter. Fast forward nearly 2 years, turns out he never got any permits. He used asphalt millings to fill and elevate his yard, altering the drainage pattern and pushing runoff into my yard. The flare of his driveway now spills into my side, and I've literally seen the asphalt millings washing toward our vegetable beds, which we've eaten from. I only found out because he casually told me he wanted to build a retaining wall using railroad ties, which leached toxic creosote, less than 6 feet from our garden. I suggested concrete. He balked at the price difference, $300 versus $1,500. That's when I called county environmental departments. A guy I talked to at the County Natural Resources Department to get info on wetlands protection laws was the one who pulled up Google Maps and Street View for our property and noted that his driveway looked like asphalt millings and the alterations to the drainage swale. After learning none of it was legal and that it was impacting both my land and possibly my health, I filed complaints. I didn't warn him or try to mediate. I just reported it. Now he's furious. And yeah, I regret how this might affect our relationship. But I'm also pissed. Comment 1. NTA. You did not ruin the relationship, there was no relationship to ruin. He made that clear with the decisions he made, all of which affected you, and none of which he cared about. He chose to do all this without getting proper permits and certs. He can deal with the fallout. Comment 2. NTA. He knew what he was doing all along. He made his choices. There would have been no point in you telling him what he already knew. Comment 3. Had a neighbor do something similar. Built up their yard and pushed water onto my property. That's illegal. Reported it to the city. They were cited, fined, had to remove all the modifications and restore the property so that water wasn't diverted onto my property. It was a nightmare and I eventually sold the house. Just uck. Get on this before any more damage happens to your property. Good luck. Story 3, because I told my wife I won't go with her to drop off her kid anymore. I work 80 hours a week. It's exhausting. I can't cut back on hours because my wife insisted we build a custom house instead of living in the modest house I already had. I'm nearly $1 million in debt and she just keeps spending. She has all these outside projects she wants me to work on during my rare day off. I take care of the animals she insisted on getting. But twice every other week she makes me ride along with her 3 hours to drop off her daughter and pick her up from her daughter's father as part of the custody plan. She keeps making more and more demands on what little time I have. Pick up the kid from school, go to her softball and basketball games, drop the kid off at school because my little girl isn't riding the bus. Go to the grocery store to pick up stuff for dinner after a 14-hour shift. I finally had enough and said I need her to have a little more respect for my time. She lost it and demanded to know what time she's taking from me, so I cited the long drives where I'm just sitting there in the passenger seat for no reason whatsoever, when there's a million other things I need to do. She asked, "Oh, so you're not going to do that anymore?" I said, "Nope. I'm not. You do it by yourself." Comment 1. You're unhappy. It's okay to call a spade a spade. Time to rethink your life. I don't care if it's 40, 70, 90 years old. Stop living life unhappy. Stop giving all of you when a person only gives 20%. I can understand if sometimes it's 60-40 30-70, but you are literally giving 100% and not even getting 1%. Comment 2. NTA. You're working 80 hours a week because your wife insisted on a custom house. And after work she pressures you to tend to her errands? Your fault. You let her establish a master-slave relationship. You have been in a state of marital servitude and just took the first step in reclaiming your life. Keep walking. Comment 3. NTA. Sell the house, get something more manageable. Pay down your debt. Reduce your hours to a reasonable amount. 80 hours/week is not reasonable. Find a hobby and commit time to it. If these things are not compatible with your marriage, you may need to think about divorce. No one laid on their deathbed and said they wished they had spent more time at the office. You need more balance in your life. Story 4. Leaving a bad review after paying $100+ for a cake that was nothing like what I asked for. Back in February, just before my birthday, I had an idea because my sister, who's gluten sensitive, probably hasn't had a real birthday cake in years, just gluten-free pastries. So, I decided to go all out this year and order her a special cake from a local gluten-free baker I'd seen posting in a Facebook group. Her cakes always looked amazing, and I thought this would be a perfect treat. Since it was February and the cake wouldn't be needed until May, I figured it would give her plenty of time to let me know if she couldn't do it. I spent over $100 on the cake, with charges for a fresh fruit compote and edible glitter. The design I asked for was a vintage heart cake in pastel orange, classic, with hand-piped lettering, glitter beneath the letters, and arches of frosting. I sent Emma, not real name, 3 photos as references. She seemed excited and assured me she could make it happen. Cut to May, 11 p.m. the night before I was supposed to pick up the cake, I get an email from Emma. She had frosted the cake in the wrong color. She offered a partial refund but didn't send any photos of how the cake looked. I thanked her for the offer but politely mentioned I was a little disappointed it wasn't the orange I had ordered. She then offered to re-ice the cake entirely, which I appreciated. The next day, I rushed home from work while my mom picked up the cake. When I opened the box, my heart sank. The cake was completely different from what I'd ordered. It was wide, flat, and possibly only one layer, nowhere near the height I requested. The color was a pinkish orange, but it didn't have the edible glitter I'd paid for. It was clearly a home baker situation and not the professional style I'd be told she could do. No hate. I'm a home baker too. I was still holding out hope that maybe the taste would make up for the visual disappointment, so I decided to wait until we tried it. But when we did, the cake was incredibly dry, maybe overbaked? And instead of the promised fresh fruit compote, it had frozen berries. So, I emailed Emma, attaching photos comparing the cake I received with the one I had requested. I told her I wasn't asking for a refund but wished she had let me know earlier that she couldn't make the cake I'd asked for so I could have found another baker. Since I didn't hear back from her and I wanted to leave an honest review, I wrote, "The cake was dry and didn't match the design I requested," explained what was wrong, but it was still good. I wished the business all the best. That's when things took a turn. Emma replied to my review, and I honestly felt my stomach drop. She accused me of altering the photos and said I shouldn't have left a review at all. I'm not a photographer, I'm an accountant, and I didn't alter anything, I don't even know how. I thought my review was quite mild, considering the situation, but now I'm wondering, did I overstep? Comment 1. NTA. You said you sent her example photos. There's no way I'd let her response stand. Push back and reply to her response. I have text/email/messenger proof of the photos I sent you to prove what I originally asked for back in February. If this ask was not something you could provide, you should have declined the job. So many people have started side hustles like this, no matter how underqualified they are. It's not okay to charge that much for such a subpar job when there's actual skilled bakers out there who could have done what you asked. Comment 2. I agree. And remember that when you are leaving a review, you are providing your experience so that others can determine if she is the right baker for them. Someone else who is also needing a gluten-free cake should absolutely know if it didn't taste good. Someone who is paying $100 for a custom cake should absolutely know that she is not able to decorate to a professional level and that she uses shortcuts on her ingredients, frozen versus fresh fruit, doesn't use the edible glitter you paid for. You perhaps weren't honest or blunt enough in your review. Extra, deciding to bury my husband with his late wife and young daughter? My husband died very recently after almost 17 years of marriage. He didn't have his wishes written down anywhere, but we had talked about it in passing one time, and he had mentioned wanting to be with his baby girl and his late wife. After he died, that came back to me when I realized he hadn't left any written wishes. My husband's son, 31, wanted him buried with his mother and sister. My kids, 22 and 24, who my husband took on as his own because their own father is dead and was not a good person, were upset by the idea. They loved my husband. To them he was their dad. And I know he loved them and thought of them as his own kids too. They wanted a family grave, so there was the potential for us to be with him one day. They struggled with the idea of him going in with the family he lost. But I knew my husband would have wanted it. I knew that was his wish even if he hadn't stated it in a significant amount of time. So I made the decision to bury him with them. My kids were very upset by this and my sister is angry. She feels like I took my husband's son's side over my kids. She said it was especially frustrating because we'll never see him again now that my husband is dead. His son was never very happy about mine or my kids' presence in his and his dad's life. I did try and I love him, but I think I always knew deep down that my husband going first would be the end of any contact between us. That's difficult, but I knew. I knew. The problem is with my kids upset and my sister angry with me, I'm a mess of emotions and undecided on my choice. I'm questioning if I could have handled this better.